Nacho Sundays, every Sunday at 6 p.m. Live on YouTube on the EBL exclusive Battle League Network. Hosted by FiboNacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays, Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme, nacho Sunday.
Nacho Sundays. Where it's not
Sunday.
your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion.
Nacho
Hosted by
Sunday.
FiboNacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme,
Nacho Sundays. Where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Hosted by FiboNacci Brown.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays. Nacho cheese, beefy, nacho veggie, nacho supreme, nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays.
Hosted by FiboNacci Brown. Don't forget to go to FiboNacciBrown.com to get your copy of Growing Down.
Nacho Sundays. Nacho Sundays.
Brought to you by the exclusive Battle League Network. EBL. What up, dope family? Happy Sunday. We survived the eclipse, y'all. Now, I know it was a lot of discussion about what was going to happen after April 8th, and we here. So I hope that we got some good energies to share about the most recent eclipse. But before we get into that, welcome to Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. I am your host, FiboNacci, Big Nacho Brown, and this is where we devour our nacho. We have topics that we talk about every Sunday, and we layer them in a nacho and devour it topic by topic. And this week will be no different. This is season 2, episode 9. And thank you for sharing your Sunday with me. Now, before we get into our nacho, you know that my regulars, my nachotarians know that we have the announcements. So to kick off the announcements, first and foremost, let me say, shout out to Commodity Productions. Commodity is a definite huge hand behind the scenes for the EBL exclusive Battle League platform, as well as other platforms when it comes to their production needs and behind the scenes needs. And that does not change when it comes to the FiboNacci Brown show. So Nacho Sundays wants to give a huge thank you and shout out to Commodity of Commodity Productions. Make sure you check him out at commodityproductions.com, where he will likely have a solution for your tech needs behind the scenes to be able to make sure that your platform is showing up at its best. So I wanted to make sure that I say thank you to him. Also, many of you know that on the last Nacho Sundays, that was the same day that they were going to be doing the Baz birthday card. So from what I understand, that birthday card went off beautifully, and there were a few surprises. One of those surprises that I want to bring up was a battle that I was actually looking forward to seeing, and it did not let down. The battle between Miss Vicious and I Am Bars. These ladies came to make sure they put on a show, and they did not disappoint. I Am Bars was definitely doing what was expected of her. But on the hand of Miss Vicious, I don't think anybody was expecting what she brought to the table. I just want to make sure that I give her her flowers. She did a fantastic job. There are reels going around. I think the last time I checked, it had just dropped and she had already had 700 plus views. And that was steady climbing. Miss Vicious definitely did her thing in her first live battle. Some people have I Am Bars winning, and a lot of people had Miss Vicious winning. So I'm definitely going to give my win to Miss Vicious. I think she definitely brought it in that battle. Salute to her. Great job for your first battle. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. So to me, that was the standout on the Baz birthday card. So good for her. I know it's nothing but great things going after. So I'm just I'm excited for her. Like I saw the audio stuff, but to see it transition so nicely over to the live environment, let's go, Ms. Vicious. I'm proud of you. Additionally, as you guys know, I am not just a podcast host of Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. I am also a published author. I have a book that I've written called Growing Down: The Observation of the Masculinization of the Black American Woman, Volume 1. And you can get your copy at FiboNacciBrown.com. For those of you who are like, how do you spell your whole name, Nachi? It's right there above my head, FiboNacciBrown.com. And you can get your copy. It is still at the introductory rate. So I'm seeing great traffic coming through the website, and I would love to send you a copy. So make sure you get over there and get yours while it's still at the introduction rate. And thank you so much ahead of time for your business. Additionally, I'm an artist. I also rap. I know you didn't think I was over here with my battle rap family just taking up space. I rap. I'm actually really good at it. And I've got I've got an album coming out this spring called Scription Volume 2. It is with my better half, 2-1 Illuminous. He is also the mastermind behind all of the beats on the album. And we have a single out right now called Oplings. Oplings in the video is on YouTube right now, and you can actually stream the album on everything. So wherever you stream, make sure you look up Scription Volume 2. I'll make sure that it's put in the comments so you guys spell it right, but it's just like description or prescription, just Scription, VOL2. You'll be able to find that again on all of your streaming platforms. Now, I want to make sure that before we get too far out, I want to slide over to the chat. I see my chat is going a little bit. I want to make sure I give a big shout out to my chat. I see Miss Vicious pulled up. I'm so glad and so proud of you, Miss Vicious. 2-1, my favorite. Hey, too. Nacho Sundays. Jay Normus in the building. Salute to Jay Normus. I appreciate you pulling up, hanging out with me this Sunday. And thank you for all of my viewing audience who is pulling up to Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a good conversation today. I'm going to hope to get it all in within the hour, because I don't know about you guys, but here in Detroit, it is a fantastic, sunny, blue sky, fluffy cloud day today. It is 77 degrees. And if you are a Detroiter like me, you know we have to savor moments like this, because we'll look up and in 3 days it'll be snowing. So, and that's not an exaggeration. I actually found something in my Facebook memories where I posted where it was 73 on one day, and then 3 days later it was 37. So that can actually happen. So I want to try to get everything into the hour so that we all have enough time to get out in the world and enjoy this beautiful sunny day. 2-1 is saying, no, we wasn't. I wasn't expecting Miss Vicious to bring the bite with the bark. Yes, I listen. You know, I'm trying real hard not to like really sound, you know, like I'm doing too much, but y'all don't understand. Miss Vicious, nobody was really expecting what she brought to the table. I don't even think I Am Bars was expecting what she brought to the table. And she did such a fantastic job live. She was so comfortable. It was almost like watching peanut butter and jelly come together. Like she just definitely felt, it looked like she felt right at home, and I was happy for her. To me, she walked away with the W, but that's no slight to I Am Bars. I Am Bars has definitely been out there doing her thing, and she did a great job too. But I just think Miss Vicious did a little bit more consistently, and she killed. So you did that, Ma. And she again is in the chat saying, thank you, Nacho. You are most welcome. No worries. You are most welcome. You earned every kudo I'm giving you. Trust me. Anywho, we are going to get ready to get into our Nacho, because we've got some things that we need to talk about that I want to get into in the beefy Nacho. But before we get to the beefy Nacho, you know, we kick our Nacho off with the cheesy Nacho. And in the cheesy Nacho, we talk about our money. We talk about what's going on with our money, ways we can make our money work for us. anything concerning our dollars and how to use them smarter, we on it in the Cheesy Nacho. And in this week's episode of the Cheesy Nacho here on Nacho Sundays, whereas Nacho Opinion is Nacho's opinion, season 2, episode 9, the Cheesy Nacho is about the rising minimum wage. Now, I know some of you may already be aware, but there was a minimum wage increase for roughly half of the country. And in that raise, some of you may be familiar with the conversation that fast food workers were asking for a raise in their income because it's not possible to work full time at a fast food restaurant and actually take care of yourself and survive realistically. So there was a cry for an increase. And in some states, that cry was heard. From what I have been able to research and find at the beginning of the year, many or half the states in the United States have agreed to raise the minimum wage to at the very least $16. So whatever minimum wage was prior, the base as of January 1 for half of those states should be $16. Now, from what I understand, states like California actually raised their minimum wage to $20. Now, what are the issues with this $20 raise in California is that some of their constituents in the political sphere feel this might be too much. This is too much money. It's going to have a huge economic impact on the business itself. And ultimately, that cost of the higher minimum wage is going to have to roll down to the customer by paying more for fast food products. So in addition, and I'm turning this conversation specifically to California, because in California, there seems to be some economic challenges that have definitely made the radar for conversation in social media spaces. So in California, there was a huge political financial donation made in the area of shaping the laws around raising minimum wage to $20. Okay. The contributions that got the focus of attention to where we're discussing it now was brought on by the franchise owner for Panera Bread. His name is Greg Flynn. Greg Flynn is allegedly being accused of donating quite a bit of money in the political sphere to shaping the laws surrounding this $20 wage increase, where the increase would not impact restaurants who had on-grounds bakeries inside of them. So those employees would not be able to take part in claiming this minimum wage for fast food workers because they would not be considered a part of that demographic. Now, some people are upset. They feel that this gentleman should not have been able to make contributions politically to shape this law in the favor of his own business. But at the same time, there are others who are saying, this is the first time we've heard of this. Bill Gates is who he is because of his ability to be able to contribute financially to certain causes that support his own. So what some of the concerns are is that this increase to $20 may result in a 5% increase in the food items. So like I mentioned earlier, many of the challenges that the business owners are citing is that they are going to have to roll this cost down to the customer by increasing food products. The least that they said they would need to be able to increase food products to cover this increase is going to be 5%. So where you may pay $8, $9 for a burger, you're going to add tax onto that, and then you're going to add an additional 5% to cover the minimum wage that has been instituted in California. Additionally, this may also result in higher wages commanded in smaller restaurants. So where the minimum wage hike has been for fast food to increase their minimum wage to $20, you also have mom and pop restaurants who don't neatly fit into the fast food box, but who are also in that same industry of providing food, that are maybe going to feel the pressure of having an increase in wages for their workers, who might make the claim, I'll just go work for a fast food restaurant where I can make more money. So it might be it might be creating challenges for the smaller mom and pop restaurants, where they're already facing struggles as a smaller mom and pop restaurant. So that was one of the things that businesses cited as a challenge of this increase when it comes to minimum wage and fast food in California. Now, I'm going to say, again, this is Nacho's opinion. You come over here for Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And in my opinion, Greg Flynn, you are wrong. You are wrong to think that you should be able to buy your way around the law. And considering that you are in a position to actually do so, definitely tells me that you have the money to pay that mandatory increase in minimum wage to your restaurant / fast food workers. And you trying to use the bakery on site as a reason to get around this, it's disgusting behavior. And it says something to me about the moral compass you have when it comes to engaging the communities in which your business it resides. If you are going to be in the communities where people are going to support your business, you need to be moving in a way that lets the community know you are in harmony with them, and trying to find ways to dupe them out of necessary increases in minimum wage so that they can live a better quality of life. Shame on you, Greg Flynn. I said it. Yes, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's Nacho's opinion, it's not your opinion. And Greg Flynn, you should be ashamed of yourself thinking you can buy your way around the law. You are an example of why people believe that there is a way to get around anything with money. That this is an example of why the people believe that the law doesn't work for everybody. It just works for the person that has the most money. And you are definitely proving that. I am of the mind that you should be ashamed of yourself for doing so, and then wanting to do business in these communities where you don't want to do right by the people in them. It's disgusting behavior. And I'm not sure if you even saw it that way. It might have to you just been, oh, this is a business decision. I have to do what's best for the business. But the business isn't the business without the community to support it. And if you are going to work to the detriment of the community, maybe you shouldn't be in business in that community, or maybe you should reconsider your business practices. Give in and give them people the minimum wage that you lobbied against for so long, and take the loss of what you donated to that law, and recognize how wrong it is, because you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm concerned that you would even think it's okay to do business in a community that you don't support. That's a moral conflict. And where you might have free bagel day at Panera Bread, or maybe you have a customer appreciation day where you might give 10% off your coffees or something, you are still on the back end duping them out of millions collectively that can go into homes and families so that they can, again, live a better quality of life. To try to buy your way around giving people a salary you know that they can't live off of, that's disgusting, Mr. Greg Flynn. And you should question yourself. You should look at what could you do to better that by the people who you service in all of the communities that you service them. I haven't seen a Panera Bread in the city unless it's downtown Detroit, but I do know that there are quite a few Panera Breads in the suburbs. So you're everywhere from California to Michigan, clearly. So with so many franchises, and with considering how long you've been in business, it's not like you don't have the money. So are you just greedy? Are you just trying to prove a point and get around a loophole to say you did it? You know, is this like a a business flex, here's how I got around the law. Like, what is it? Because you got the bread, you got the money. I'm just not understanding why you would go so hard to undermine the community that you're in. There should be some moral compass you're held to, where behavior like this is brought to the attention of the people who might be spending their hard-earned underwaged dollars to get a bagel from you or some coffee from you. I think that people wanting to live a certain, nobody's asking to be you in the dynamic, Mr. Greg Flynn. They're not asking to let me be as rich as or as wealthy as the franchise owner. They're not asking that, but maybe they don't want to have to only be able to buy groceries for 4 or 5 nights, because in California, everything is so inflated and overpriced that it's difficult to live on less than that, the $20 minimum of minimum wage. So I'm just trying to understand, the behavior stood out to me. It was arguably undermining of the community that the Panera Breads are in. And I do need to check, because I'm not sure if of him being the franchise owner was of the entire franchise or of just in California. But let's just say it was just California. The cost of living and the amount and price of things in California, you're making a lot of money, sir. Give them people their wage and stop playing. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. And as far as the business community on the level of this Greg Flynn, somebody should be pulling you to the side and having a conversation with you to say, hey, on the integrity of business, let's stand on it and not do our communities like that when we demand their money by being in their communities and making sure that they spend money with us. Let's do right by them. We want these people to come in and work for us, or do we want them to take down the quality of what you can expect in our business because we don't want to treat them right when it's time to pay them? I don't want my coffee spit in. I don't want boogers in my bagels. Pay them people what you should pay them. Stop making it so that their retaliation will likely be on the customer and not you. Like, ultimately, it'll be you when your business goes down because the service is not what it used to be, because you got pissed off employees. But don't have the employees take it out on the customers because you ain't paying them right. Pay the people. Pay them. Give them the $20 per hour. It's not going to hurt you. Even if you had to rebudget, give them people what they have worked for and earned. Don't try to buy your way around the law. It sets a bad example as a businessman, sets a bad example as a staple in the community, and it sets a bad example for your character as a person. I'm personally not going back to Panera Bread till I find out there's been some changes to right by these people. So, Mr. Greg Flynn, you can't buy your way around the law. And again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And I said it, you can't buy your way around the law. There should be some repercussion. I would encourage people to have some sort of consequence for businesses in their communities who choose to undermine paying the people in the communities they're in. It's not fair. And it's very low integrity. It's no integrity at all, as far as I'm concerned. So, listen, pay them people, Greg Flynn. You, it's not a good look what you're doing. I'm gonna point it out. I know some people may not take the time to kind of dig into it like I'm gonna dig into it, but I'm gonna dig into it on Nacho Sundays, and we're gonna devour this nacho. And you are on the menu, sir. Pay them people. Now I'm gonna slide over to my chat for a quick sec. I see that my chat is going. Wayne Almighty has pulled up to the chat. Hey, Wayne, appreciate you coming to hang out with us on Nacho Sundays. And we have Treehouse 2024. Welcome, Treehouse. Thank you for hanging out with us on Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Treehouse said, talk, Nachi. So I see somebody is agreeing with me on the moral aspect of what Mr. Greg Flynn, owner of the franchise Panera Bread, with respect to California and the minimum wage, somebody's agreeing with me. And I think that he needs to do right by those people. So we appreciate your support in the conversation, Treehouse. And Wayne Almighty wants to point out the deep fried boogers, though. That's a real thing. That's a real thing, because when you think about people who are not happy with their jobs, they're not happy with the conditions that they are being subjected to when it comes to their work environment. When you have people who are dealing with things like that, where do they take out their frustrations? They are likely going to go to the first thing that they can tangibly get to, which is the customer. It's going to result in poor service. It's going to result in poor quality food preparation. And that can be from just throwing your food together in the wrapper to adding other contaminants to your food, i.e. deep fried boogers, as Wayne said. But, I don't want that for anybody. I don't want these people who are deserving of what they're asking for, if you ask me, especially in California. I don't want them to resort to having to do things like that because they're not being treated properly. So I'm going to make my plea out to the franchise owner who can control how these people get paid. You were able to control the shaping of the law to not pay them, make wrong or make your wrong right, and pay these people. It's ridiculous. It's not a good look. And as a business person, I'm a business major. And to me, even though you might not see such a business practice discussed in the textbooks when you go to college to get these degrees, I'm here to tell you that there's a moral aspect to everything you do. And if you aren't able to understand how to balance that in your business and you end up doing things like what this Greg Flynn is doing, shame on you, Greg Flynn. I'm not buying a Panera nothing until I found out there's been some changes. And if you are not the franchise owner of all of the chains and that there are other franchise owners in other states, they need to get with you to tighten up on your integrity so that their business doesn't suffer if other people decide to make the decision I'm making and not stand on business with you because you're not standing on business with your employees. So get it together. Your slip is showing. Hang it up and do right by these folks. Again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And we are here every Sunday at 6:00. We are chopping it up for about an hour on hot topics that are impacting our environments. And right now we are at the mid show. I'm going to go over to a couple of words from our sponsors, and from there, we'll be right back.
A woman is the most potent expression of feminine energy in the harmonic equation of the human experience. Growing Down, an observation of the masculinization of the Black American woman. Volume 1. Get your copy at FiboNacciBrown.com. A woman is the most potent expression
in my mental. This wish a nigga was central. Make sure it's holy in your temple. You a vegetable when I'm in the room, and I'm vegetarian when I eat my food. Palms together when I pray on you, cause the chef about to use her favorite tool. Chop, cut, slice, dice. Shit, I ain't even got a knife. Seem like when I spell it in a rhyme, I cut a motherfucker up and serve him over rice.
You are now listening to the Nacho Podcast, brought to you by the EBL Network. If it ain't exclusive, it don't matter. It's not your time to talk, it's time to listen. So pull up to the table with your plate and pay attention. It's not your time to talk, not your Sunday. It's something different. This is not your opinion, and you don't wanna miss it. It's not your time to talk. It's time for the show.
And we're back. What up, dope family? Now, As my Nachotarians may already be familiar, after we discuss the cheesy nacho, we definitely dive into the beefy nacho. And in the beefy nacho on season 2, episode 9 of Nacho Sundays, where it's Nacho opinion, it's Nacho's opinion, we are going to talk about what everybody seems to be talking about when it comes to hip hop, and that is Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. Let's talk about it, family. What is going on in hip hop? Now, I know, just as a sidebar, I know that Diddy is relieved that nobody is going in on him this week, and that there is another focus in hip hop besides his shenanigans. And it seems to be the attention taker from Diddy is going to be Kendrick Lamar versus J. Cole. J. Cole has put out a diss record against Kendrick Lamar. And I know everybody's like, wait a minute, they were friends, they were cool, then not, then what happened? Then Drake enters the chat, and now it's a triangle upset. So what's going on? Well, it seems like J. Cole put out a diss track against Kendrick Lamar. Mind you, this is not where the shenanigans started between them. Apparently, there's have been some sneak dissing between them for years now, back on King Kunta. But anywho, once J. Cole put this diss track out, everybody was waiting to see what Kendrick Lamar was going to do. And Kendrick Lamar ultimately decided that, or no, not Kendrick Lamar decided that. I'm sorry. J. Cole ultimately decided that he was going to apologize for putting the album out. And once he got to a microphone to explain why he was apologizing for doing, I believe it was called the song was called Might Delete Later. He apologized because he said he didn't feel right in his spirit, and because he was concerned that it wasn't giving the right message. I'm sorry, family. Hold on one second. Yes, sorry about that. Anywho, J. Cole went on to explain that he felt it wasn't the proper energy, in a nutshell, to put this diss track out against an artist that he felt he thought very highly of lyrically. And it seemed like everybody in the social sphere went bananas. Okay. It seemed like everybody went crazy. Why did he apologize? This isn't hip hop. That's not what rap is about. KRS-One never apologized to anybody. LL never apologized to Kumo D. I mean, they went back on their reasons for why Cole just shouldn't have apologized. Now, Drake at some point entered the chat where there have apparently been sneak disses in the Kendrick songs and in the J. Cole songs, shots at Drake. Drake then decided he was going to just do his own diss track to everybody. And he didn't leave out anybody. I think I might have got dissed. I'm going to have to check Drake, see if I'm on there. But he did not waste any time putting out his Gimme 50. And it was very entertaining to listen to. But it just turned into like a three-way fight. And there's a couple of things in there that I think we need to talk about in order to be able to put some analytics to this beef. First of all, Drake has very entertaining music. Drake has very legendary runs in being able to stay in the spotlight. He's been able to cross over to different genres even. However, that in a sense, considering that Drake was able to cross over to those genres by actually doing those genres. Like he was actually singing. He was actually doing pop songs. One thing that has left a sour taste in people's mouths about Drake and his accomplishments when it comes to hip hop and music is that he has ghostwriters. He is not the progenitor of his raps. And for anybody who is in love with hip hop, as I am, and the origins and the essence of it, you got to write your own raps. Like, Drake, you got to write your own stuff. And although we can appreciate that you had these great runs, it's kind of hard to not have so many runs when you have a whole team of people who are behind you to make sure you're running. Like when you don't feel like running, somebody else can run and just come back to you like, hey, I ran for you. And you just take the paper in the booth and say it. And for people who are the progenitors of their own lyricism, that's a hard pill to swallow when you want to be the best at doing something. Additionally, none of the rappers who are considered to be GOATs or the best at what they're doing have crossed over and sang and did pop. Drake, they didn't. You know, they didn't do that. That's not a trait or characteristic or accomplishment of anybody that is considered a top dog in hip hop and rap. Additionally, I think if Drake wants to have a certain credibility for what he does, and he's not going to build that empire on writing his own raps, then he should fully go over into singing, where when you sing, you can get like legendary credit for not singing songs you wrote. So if that's what Drake's looking for, he needs to fully explore that in the appropriate arena, because being in rap and trying to have one toe in pop, and you know, when you come back to hip hop, you got some other folks writing your stuff. That's not a fair assessment of yourself when it comes to the hip hop sphere. And it's not fair to the people you would call peers. So, you know, Drake, like I said, you make very entertaining music. You're very good at making sure you're somewhere in the race, running the race in a legitimate, I shouldn't say legitimate, I should say in a relevant way. You definitely know how to stay relevant. But I think if you want the respect that comes to artists who write their own raps, that's what you got to do. You can't get raps from other people, say them and be like, I said it so well, that should make me a legend. It's the totality of being able to stay relevant so long that's the legendary piece, not any lyricism that you would have contributed outside of the ghostwriter. So I can see why Drake would want to have such an accolade, because he has so much invested as far as time in that arena. So I can understand wanting that. Like, he'd be crazy not to. But in my opinion, and again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. Drake, you got to write your own raps. Anywho, back to Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. Now, J. Cole, he did what a lot of people feel was a grown man thing to do. He recognized there was some negative energy in what he was contributing to between him and Kendrick, and he didn't want to continue in that vein of negativity. So he decided to apologize. He pulled the song from streaming platforms. I believe it was called Might Delete Later. Looks like that's exactly what he did. And he wanted to kind of fall back from any back and forth with Kendrick. I had an opportunity to get some feedback on what Lil Duval thought about this whole thing, and I'm kind of with him. Lil Duval, in a nutshell, was like, basically, we weren't concerned about anything going left in the back and forth between Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. A lot of the interest that people had in the back and forth between the two of these men was very much invested in their lyricism. That's part of why it was so interesting, because there was never a concern that it was going to be real beef. Like, we knew all along this was Beyond Meat. We knew all along this was the impossible. We never thought this was USDA grade A beef. We thought we were getting ready to get lyricism from our lyricist. I couldn't wait to see what the fruits of a clash of titans, for lack of better words, would have looked like. As an artist, as a rapper, I enjoy the healthy competition of good lyricists, because it pushes my pen to make sure I am at a caliber of lyricism that would be respected by those who are respected in that arena. It sharpens, steel sharpens steel. I was looking forward to that back and forth. And I can understand, in a sense, and I'll tell you why. I can understand, in a sense, why J. Cole did what he did, not wanting to feed into what he thought was negativity. I can understand that. And I'm going to tell you that I can understand that because the climate of rap is different now. We have something called drill rap. And to a degree, it is very comparable to what we might consider gangster rap. And drill rap has unfortunately claimed lives of some very young, talented artists. And much of that sparked from so-called beef. And it definitely took a turn that had nothing to do with music. So again, I can understand why J. Cole wouldn't be interested in trying to put negative energy out there, thinking he might be feeding into something that wasn't going to be for the progression of the people who was listening to it. I get that. But again, it was Cole and Kendrick. J. Cole as a gangster never crossed my mind. Kendrick as a gangster never crossed my mind. Now, I'm not saying they are to be effed with. I'm not trying to call them, soft by any means, but they didn't come across to me ever as gangster rappers. They came across to me as word alchemists like myself. They came across to me as people who were master level in their craft and could definitely set an example of how to be top tier professionals when it comes to this rap thing. And I was looking forward to that. And I feel like Cole's decision might have been premature to pull the song and give the apology. Nothing ever happened to LL and Kumo D. That was healthy competition. And again, I understand that the climate is different in rap, but the climate between these two rappers, we didn't have any expectation of violence. It just, I didn't. Now, you please let me know in the chat if you thought for a second that Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole could go left and turn violent. Let me know. Because when I tell you that was the last thing I was where I already popped my popcorn. I was ready to sit back, put my feet on the table, and watch these two lyrical masterminds be lyrical masterminds. And to apologize prematurely and not give us that, especially when Drake entered the chat. Cole, I think your heart was in the right place, but your strategy was at the wrong point. It was the right move at the wrong time. I don't think there was a threat there. And I can understand you just might have felt like it was negative for maybe some other reasons. Maybe you thought it was a little thicker between you and Kendrick than it actually was, but with that being said, I don't see Kendrick as a very congratulatory type artist when it comes to people he feels are vying for a spot that he claims. I believe in one of his songs, one of his recent discs, he says something like, y'all talking top 3 and it's just top me. Kendrick feels like he's the best out here. And when you listen to Cole feels like he's the best out here. And then when Drake enters the chat, he feels like he's the best out here. And frankly, when Nachi gets on Nacho Sundays and she promotes her Scription Volume 2 album with 2-1 Illuminous, doggone it, I feel like I'm the best out here. So I'm not understanding why that competitive nature wasn't respected. Because for me, I believe Cole and Kendrick could have showed us how hip hop has professional levels of competition that's healthy for the culture. You two could have did it. But to give in like, I don't want another Pac and Biggie, I'm going to just gracefully bow out. Nobody ever thought y'all was Pac and Biggie, ever. Nowhere. Not at one time at all. So I think the pullout was a little premature. Pause for those who feel like they need to do that. But it was, I think it would have been good for the culture to be able to see what healthy back and forth looks like. Because you two would have been elected to do it. Who should we go get to give us healthy competition in rap? Should we turn to the females in rap? I'm trying. So I'm just wondering, what is the alternative? Because if it's not going to come from our J. Cole's and from our Kendrick Lamar's, who is it going to come from? Like, set the example already and don't be afraid to do so. Cole, get back in the ring, do a Rocky and come back to the ring and get your W's. Because listen, you apologizing for the negativity. If it was that hard on your spirit, does that mean that you're not going to engage in rap at all? Because frankly, every time you drop a track, you're in competition with every artist who hears it and is in the same genre as you. Because when you go to the Grammys, you go to the BET Awards, you go to these different award shows, you're in competition. So whether you want it or not, you're going to compete. And if you're going to compete, do it in such a top tier way that it sets the example for those who come up behind you on how it's done. Don't chicken out. Don't cop out. You were never in danger of being a Tupac or a Biggie. Neither one of you. Give us the lyricism. Give us what we want. Don't play games because you got the attention of people who are wanting thirstily for this this lyrical back and forth, and you're just dangling it like a carrot in our face. It's like, no, that ain't gonna work. So I think the apology was premature. Again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. And yeah, you shouldn't have apologized, Cole. You should have kept it professional and top tier. Let that track sit out there and let Kendrick respond. And frankly, I don't think that just because you pulled it, Kendrick won't respond. So the damage might already be done. And I don't know why y'all keep poking at that Gemini. Kendrick is gonna come back with 2 more Kendricks and go bananas. So I'm still, hopeful that there's going to be a response, but, clearly there won't be a Kendrick and Lamar album unless, I don't know, this is entertainment. Anywho, we are going to move through our nacho into the veggie nacho. And in this episode of Nacho Sundays on season 2, episode 9, Veggie Nacho, we talk about health. And in this week's episode of health, we are going to talk about having healthy relationships by being able to spot red flags. Now, I know everybody hears red flags. I even heard a joke once where the girl said, you know, how was I supposed to know that they were red flags? It looked like Six Flags when I was having all that fun with them, you know. So, you know, I want to make sure that we have a conversation about red flags. Now, red flags are going to be signs or reasons to maybe rethink your approach to a person. Okay. Now, in an article that I was reading on Yahoo, it was some of the characteristics of not so good people. Now, this is going to be helpful when you might be meeting new people. Maybe you are, you know, chatting a lot online with somebody. Maybe you're even having phone conversations or texting. There are certain things you should look for, certain behaviors that should stand out to you that will allow you to be able to kind of give a good look into this person's character to determine if this is, to at least determine your approach with this person. So, from the article I was reading, there was like over 20 things, 20 characteristic things. I'm only going to name a few here, but again, these are red flags to look for so that you can have healthy relationships with people who have healthy characteristics about themselves. So, if you notice any of these characteristics, make sure that you make note of them. These are red flags, and you want to be able to use that to make educated decisions about engaging people. If a person is has excessive self-centeredness. Now, I know some of you are like, you know, well, define excessive. Excessive self-centeredness is going to be more than just a bunch of selfies on their page. Now, if you're going to their social media pages and every day they've got a picture of themselves and the only thing is different is the clothes they're wearing, but it's the same pose, if just every day that's a little self-centered. But if that carries over into other behaviors, like wanting all of the attention on them when maybe you are having a conversation, let's say you're talking to this person, they don't ask you anything about you. You might have asked them one question and 30 minutes later, this person is still talking about themselves. And somehow they can re-spark a way to have more things to say in the conversation that you should be in with them, but they're continually talking and you're sitting there finding yourself listening for 30, 40 minutes. That's a bit excessive when it comes to self-centeredness. Someone who, let's say you and a person are invited to a birthday party. Maybe you go to a birthday party where you guys have a mutual friend, you know, hey, I'll meet you there. And you guys spot each other at the birthday party. You go over to talk to one another. And this person is saying stuff like, you know, this is cool, but yeah, wait till my birthday. You know, my birthday, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. When they can't be excited for someone else in their moment and all they can think about is what they're going to do in their moment, excessive self-centeredness, that's a red flag. Another one was mentioned was indifference to others' welfare or suffering, i.e. no compassion. If you are having a conversation about something that should invoke some sensitivity and this person is like, you know, well, it's not me. It ain't my family. It ain't mine. Or, you know, it's not my problem. If they can really like brush off things that should invoke sympathy. Now, I'm not talking about gossip topics, you know, stuff about celebrities and things like that. Somebody who's just refraining, like, you know, I'm not going to get in the celebrity sphere. I'm good. Not that. I'm talking about maybe you guys might know or have a mutual friend. Maybe that friend went to the hospital for, you know, whatever reason. And you might express some concern, you know, hey, I want to go down to the hospital and see our friend, you know, just to, you know, bring a balloon or a card or, you know, just to say, hey, we care and we're thinking about you. And they're like, you know, you can go ahead. You know, I'm not going to no hospitals. I don't like how hospitals feel, and hospitals make me cringe. And shoot, I'm not in the hospital, so why am I going? That's a red flag. That's a lack of compassion, lack of empathy, and that is going to ultimately show up if you decide to get closer or try to be closer with this person. That's ultimately going to show up when you might need them for friendship, to actually depend on them as a friend. Maybe you need somebody to talk to. Maybe you need a shoulder to cry on. That's the kind of person who's not going to show up for you in that moment. They're going to feel like, I'm not sad. So if you're sad, don't call me. I don't want to be sad. That's a red flag. Disrespect for boundaries in favor of their own feelings or wants. If you have someone who is, you've set a boundary where you said, hey, I don't allow smoking in my house. And somebody comes in and they're like, I've had a hard day. You won't believe the day I had. And they plop down on your couch and they take one of your good glasses from your cabinets and turn it into an ashtray and spark up a cigarette and just start flicking ashes in your good glass, going on about their day in your house where you've set a boundary that you don't allow smoking. And you have expressed that because I don't allow smoking in my house, and you've gone in, not only grabbed a dish out of my cupboard to turn it into an ashtray because somebody's going to actually drink out of that glass, but you turn around and start smoking in my home, you have disrespected me. And they turn around and not only do they not recognize the disrespect, but they are in turn upset with you for not taking into consideration the bad day that they have had. And you should in turn bend your boundary to accommodate what they want to do in your home when you've already set the bounds. That's a red flag. Somebody who wants you to overlook your boundaries in order to give them what they want, or in order to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do. That's a huge red flag. You shouldn't, if somebody is going to show you respect and you set a boundary, that means that they are not going to find a reason to disrespect you. They are going to play chess with the situation, and they are going to say, hey, okay, I know in order to maybe relax a little bit, I need to smoke a cigarette. So rather than go into so-and-so's house where I know they don't allow smoking, let me smoke a cigarette outside now. And that way, when I go in, I've already had my cigarette. I can just kind of relax and enjoy spending time at my friend's house. That would be the logical thought process to come to, where you think it through. But to think that you can just emotionally charge a situation with, this is what I feel, and that should take precedent over everything else, including your respect, that's a red flag. That's something you want to look out for in the character of a person, because ultimately that's going to show up later where they're not going to have they're not going to have respect for boundaries you set in other areas, as far as personally, which can definitely cause conflict. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to that red flag. Another red flag. They don't support you during the hard times. Again, you might have someone where you call them and say, hey, I've got some things on my mind. I just need to vent. I've work and home are just really piling up on me, and I just need to kind of get some things off my chest. And they tell you, well, I'm kind of busy. Like, I've had a great day. Like, I really don't want to, talk about nothing like that right now, because my day has been so good, and it might bring me down to kind of listen to you. So, maybe call me later or somebody else, but I can't really do that right now. I'm doing me, I'm protecting my energy, and I just can't do that right now. And although those buzzwords sound good and that sounds like stuff people would say, that's a red flag. If somebody who is supposed to be a friend, or somebody who is supposed to consider themselves there for you, actually can't be there for you, then you might want to reconsider your engagement with that person, at least how you engage that person, so you don't set yourself up for an expectation that's not going to come to fruition. So yes, not being able to support you in hard times, that's a big red flag. Constant lying, that's self-explanatory. Constant lying can also be the little lies. It's not just, something huge. It could be little stuff. Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes. You 20 minutes out. It could be, it could be little things like that, or I'm not hungry and your stomach's growling, and you just got these little buildups of little lies that you tell all through your conversation every day. That's a red flag. Little lies will be indicators of big lies later. So that's a red flag. Here's a big one: using charm to gain favor. There are many times, especially in narcissistic situations, you'll find that sometimes a person who has this particular red flag, they will do all of the sweet, nice things that almost seem overwhelming, almost seem too much. And it's like, oh, wow, you are quite the guy, my goodness, like, okay. And then ultimately you find out they want something from you. And then when they get it, it's, what's up? What you want? It gets real dry. So using charm bombing, kind of like love bombing, using charm bombing to ultimately manipulate a situation in their favor and then later discard you or give you the cold shoulder as if they weren't just pouring on all this charm before. That's a big red flag. That's someone who is later, they are going to discard you when they're done with you, and they are manipulators. That is a huge sign that someone is willing to manipulate you, when they will charm bomb you to get their way and then discard you later. Big red flag of manipulation. So if you're wondering, well, maybe they just do that because they know they should be nice if they want something from someone. Yes, but the flip side behavior of being cold after they get it, that's a big manipulation tactic, and it's a red flag. Also, refusing to accept responsibility or accountability. Now, I know you're like, Nachi, that kind of sounds like the same thing, refusing to accept accountability and responsibility. And in this instance, it is not the same thing. So when I say refusing to accept responsibility, I'm saying these people tend to want to get other people to do things that they should be responsible for. They don't want to make their own money. They want somebody to give them money. They don't want to, they don't even want to clean up behind themselves. They want somebody else to clean up behind them. They don't want the responsibility of themselves. They want to be able to give directives to other people so that they can be who they are. That's what I mean by responsibility. They aren't responsible individuals when it comes to standing on their own business. And then being accountable means that if there is a hiccup in their character that ultimately comes out in an action, they have a hard time saying, okay, I was wrong and I need to apologize for that and make it right. They don't know how to do that. They are going to use their emotions to be louder than what they believe you are pointing out as behavior they need to be accountable for. That's a red flag. When you have someone who goes straight to making the situation emotionally charged, it's almost like, I know sometimes my ladies, when you're in a discussion with a guy you might be seeing, and you're maybe trying to make him be accountable for something, and he ultimately cuts off the conversation, with an emotional, you asking too many questions, you talking too long, why are you asking me? Like it goes from 0 to 60 real fast, and you like, wait a minute, I thought we were talking something out. That is an emotional response, and it is a red flag. It's going to ultimately let you know that this person is not someone who's going to take accountability when they have something that they need to be, that needs to be addressed when they are called to the carpet. So, ladies, if y'all feel me on that conversation, I know I'm not the only one that heard it from the wrong guy. So if in instances like that, that's a red flag. Also, and I'm gonna make this the last one, because again, I said there was over 20 in this article. This article was on Yahoo. It was called Some Characteristics of Not So Good People. I'm gonna make this the last one. It's lack of genuine apologies or knowing when to apologize. So this kind of piggybacks on the accountability thing, but when they apologize, it's almost like it's because they've been talked into it, or because it's just the flow of conversation, or you've argued so long that you're just exhausted and it's like, let me just say I apologize to get over it. It lacks being genuine. So it's I apologize, but or I apologize, all right, my bad. And then there's no correction to the behavior. There's no embellishing on the apology to give specifics so that you know what is actually understood and being addressed in the apology. That is a big red flag. And if you want to have healthy relationships where you are able to communicate in a positive way, take into account some of these red flags that I mentioned, because these are going to be some of the clues that kind of let you know what kind of person you are dealing with. Now, I know the article said not so good people. However, I find that sometimes people don't even understand that such behavior is bad or is a hiccup in good character. Sometimes they just don't get it. They've been doing a certain thing for so long and they feel it works for them, so they're not encouraged to change. And what I want to impart, and again, this is Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. I want to impart that I don't think necessarily people who have some of these characteristics are bad people. And that is depending on how long they've been practicing the behavior. Now, sometimes you might need to just guide someone in a right direction. I know some younger adults, some of my Nachotarians in they, early to mid 20s, maybe even in their late 20s, early 30s. Early 30s, you should kind of, have enough personality engagement to be able to analyze certain situations and things in a way that is positive for you to be able to have a healthy relationship. But I know trying to muddle through that in your, like I say, your early 20s to late 20s, trying to figure out people and figure out personalities, figure out yourself for the most part, you might just need a couple of clues to kind of give you a sense of what to look for. And once you're able to spot those things, you can correct them in yourself and spot them in other people. So again, I don't think it's necessarily that these are bad people, regardless of what the name of that article is. But I do think these are red flags, and red flags can be turned into green flags so that you can be a healthy person to be around, be a healthy person to engage when it comes to conversation and even dealings. But if these are some things that you notice about your own behavior, or if you've checked out the list and you notice some the list on Yahoo and you've noticed that there are some other behaviors on there that maybe apply to you or people you might want to evaluate those engagements with those people, or self-reflect on yourself. See what you can do to correct those behaviors in yourself. Because again, they are red flags and it ain't a good look. It really ain't. So moving on. We are getting to the end of our nacho. This was a delicious nacho this week. And in the end of our nacho, which is the Nacho Supreme, the Nacho Supreme is the knowledge nugget. Nuggets we can use to get through this thing called life. This season 2, episode 9 of Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. The knowledge nugget is going to be, you only get what you negotiate. Now, I know you're like, what do you mean, Nacho? Well, as you remember from the last Nacho Sundays, episode 8, we were talking about buying a car, and we were talking about some of the things that go into buying a car and ways you can prepare yourself to not get duped in the dealership. And ultimately, that lesson that I took away from that experience, which to me kind of applies to a lot of what I do, because I do a lot of negotiation, is you only get what you negotiate. You have to speak up. You have to speak up. You have to know your worth, and don't settle for less than that, because you will only sell yourself short. Nobody else suffers when you don't speak up but you. So make sure that when you come to a negotiation table, you aren't in the moment trying to come up with a strategy. Make sure that you have a way that you want to conduct business. You have a way that you want to strategize, facilitating that conducting of business, in that you don't settle for less than your worth, or you are only going to hurt yourself. You only get what you negotiate. And with that being said, this has been episode 9 of Nacho Sundays, where it's not your opinion, it's Nacho's opinion. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with me on this Sunday. And again, I hope you guys got time to go and catch some of the beautiful weather out there. At least it's beautiful here in Detroit. I know we need to hurry up because it's going to be in the 50s by the end of the week. So I'm going to try to get out here and catch some of these sun rays. Maybe I'll get one of those beautiful Detroit sunsets off the river. But you guys have a great Sunday. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next Sunday. Bye, y'all.
You are now listening to the Nacho Podcast, brought to you by the EBL Network. If it ain't exclusive, it don't matter. It's not your time to talk, it's time to listen. So pull up to the table with your plate and pay attention. It's not your time to talk, Nacho Sunday. It's something different. This is not your opinion, and you don't wanna miss it. It's not your time to talk.
This wish a nigga was central. Make sure it's holy in your temple. You a vegetable when I'm in the room, and I'm vegetarian when I eat my food. Palms together when I pray on you, cause the chef about to use her favorite tool. Chop, cut, slice, dice. Shit, I ain't even got a knife. Seem like when I spell it in a rhyme, I cut a motherfucker up and serve him over rice.